Chapter 1160 finally brings us the long-awaited God Valley incident, but what I really want to focus on from this chapter is the Davy clan and Buccaneer connection. Blackbeard and his mother, along with the other Davy clan members, are brought onto stage and shown to the Celestial Dragons before the cleansing hunt. Celestials in attendance call to end the Davy clan bloodline, while another Celestial questions if these Davy clan members are also Buccaneers, the same near-extinct race that Kuma belongs to. Now this begs the question, were they referring to the massive Davy clan members who are also on stage who easily fit the physical appearance of typical Buccaneers, or is Oda trying to tell us that all Davy clan members are also Buccaneers as well? If this is the case, then Rox and Blackbeard are Buccaneers. Blackbeard being a potential Buccaneer has been a theory for a while now, because Blackbeard does exhibit a few Buccaneer traits. He's somehow able to tank a massive amount of damage just like Kuma, and he does share a similar appearance to Kuma, and then there's the whole soul theory about Blackbeard and Buccaneers, which is the main chunk of this theory video today, and I will break that down shortly. I will be going down the train of thought that the Davy clan are indeed also all Buccaneers for the sake of this theory, but I will say while Blackbeard does display Buccaneer traits, his father Rox doesn't as much. The main trait of the Buccaneer clan is their appearance. From what we know, they are quite massive in size because they carry the blood of giants. Now, as we've seen, Rox isn't huge by any means. He's about the size of a typical One Piece human, if not slightly larger. But Rox does display one trait that I think can be attributed to Buccaneer strength. His sword attacks were famous for blasting everything in sight like a gigantic hammer or cannonball. Now this could be the works of a devil fruit power, but that is yet to be confirmed, so we can assume it's because of Rox's strength, which could be because he has Buccaneer level strength. Another idea I think strengthens Rox's connection to potentially being a Buccaneer are the Galila giants. Not much is known about them, and even the giants King Harold thought they were a myth, so the fact that Rox knows about them and is trying to find them is insane. I think the connection here is that the Galila giants could be the progenitors of the Buccaneer race because we know Buccaneers carry the blood of giants, and this was a group of giants that traveled the world where they may have procreated with other races throughout their journeys. If Rox is a Buccaneer and these Buccaneers descend from these specific giants, then stories about them could have been passed down through their descendants, which would lead to Rox and how he knows about them. Now, if Oda is telling us Blackbeard and Rox are in fact Buccaneers, I think this revelation finally gives us some answers to some of the biggest mysteries in One Piece, such as why Blackbeard doesn't sleep, how he can eat multiple devil fruits, and how he knows so much. What I'm about to theorize in this video does contradict some of my past theories I've talked about in this channel, but that's the nature of theories. As the story further unravels, you have to update or make brand new ones. So let's get started. I've always been open to the idea that Rox was somehow living inside of Blackbeard's body, and that could explain all of Blackbeard's mysteries. For a while, I tried to craft theories on how that would be possible, and I've always loved the idea that somehow the answer was the Yomi Yomi no Mi, the revived devil fruit. Brook's devil fruit has the power to resurrect oneself after they die. The only thing is you don't automatically pick up where you died. You return to the world from the afterlife in soul form. And I pictured this being a great explanation as to how someone like Rox could have pulled this off, and how he combined his soul into Blackbeard's body. But the thing is, the timelines never worked. Rox couldn't have had the revived devil fruit power because Brook was still its user by the time Rox died. Now, if you watched one of my past videos on how I think Buccaneers are created, I go into detail on what I think the mysterious Buccaneer powers are that Vegapunk foreshadows. I believe the Buccaneers have soul powers. I think after a Buccaneer dies, they get a similar power to Brook's devil fruit, the ability to freely control their soul after their body dies. And I believe we have a prime example of this because of Kuma. He was converted into a cyborg and his consciousness was erased from his body, but somehow when Kuma's self-destruct button was activated by Saturn, he was supposed to peacefully shut down and ultimately die as Vegapunk designed him to. But then how did Kuma defy this? By seemingly staying alive and making his way to his daughter on Egghead Island. I think when Kuma's self-destruct button was activated, it finally killed what little was left of the true Kuma. This finally freed Kuma's soul. After his death, Kuma in his soul form just repossessed his soulless cyborg body, essentially giving him control of his body again and freeing him from the world government's control, which gave Kuma the ability to act of his own free will and make the decision to travel to Egghead to save Bonnie. And a big difference between this Buccaneer power and Brook's would be that as soon as the soul leaves the body, the Buccaneers gain control over it, whereas Brook's power only activates soul control when your soul reaches the afterlife. Now let's bring this full circle into how this connects to recent revelations in chapter 1160. Rox and Blackbeard being Buccaneers finally gave me the answer I was always looking for, and it's fairly easy to connect the dots with everything I just said. If the Buccaneers do have the ability to control their souls after they die, then when Rox died at God Valley, he would be able to control his soul after it left his body, just like our examples of Brook and Kuma. But in this case, Rox couldn't go back to his own body because it was dead. Kuma and Brook are exempt from this because Kuma went back to a cyborg body, and while Brook's body was also dead, his power is different because it's a devil fruit power, which makes it possible for him to return to life from a dead body. This left Rox with very limited options. I think he merged his soul into his very own son, teach. This would explain everything. Why Blackbeard doesn't sleep, why he can eat multiple devil fruits, and how he seems to be one step ahead of everyone in the world of One Piece. If Blackbeard's body is also housing the soul of Rocks, this would give us a potential answer as to why he doesn't sleep. Maybe Blackbeard can sleep, but when he does, Rocks awakens, giving us the illusion that he's always awake. Blackbeard having Rocks' soul inside him would also answer the multiple devil fruit mystery. 2 souls in one body means he has another soul to house a second devil fruit power without dying. Rocks merging his soul with Blackbeard sounds very selfish and a very evil thing to do to your own child, but maybe Rocks did it to protect his son. We know Rocks was content with sacrificing his life if it meant his wife and son would survive. What if Rocks died before he can confirm if his wife and son were safe from harm? Maybe the reason he merged his soul into his son's body was to control it and get him to safety. Blackbeard would be around 2 years old at this time, and he wouldn't be able to survive a dangerous battlefield like God Valley. Rocks taking control of Blackbeard's body might have been what ultimately saved him. Rocks may not have known merging his soul into a living body was permanent and essentially cursed his son by doing so. We also know Rocks was privy to so much forbidden knowledge, like the fact that he knew about Davy Jones, knew the hidden meaning behind his name, knew the existence of Emu, and so much more. If he now resides in Blackbeard's body, it would explain how Blackbeard knows so much, and seems to always be one step ahead of everyone in One Piece. Another interesting idea is Blackbeard seems to have been an orphan before Whitebeard let him join his crew, which I assume means his mother did not survive God Valley, and Blackbeard somehow knows about his own lineage. If his mother and father both died when Blackbeard was 2 years old, how would Blackbeard have learned anything about Rocks being his father? And we know Blackbeard knows because of Katarina Devon's line to Saturn about his lineage in chapter 1107. To further dive into this, I believe Shanks saw the Rocks version of Blackbeard in their one and only duel that left Shanks scarred. Shanks said he wasn't being careless in that fight, and I think Blackbeard revealed his true power to Shanks, which is when Rocks takes control of their body. I also still think it was Shanks, not Shamrock in chapter 907, who informed the Gorosei about a certain pirate, that pirate being Blackbeard. Maybe Rocks got cocky in their fight and told Shanks who he was, or Blackbeard told him about his father, thinking it didn't matter since he was going to kill Shanks anyway, but Shanks escaped. If this is what Shanks told the Gorosei in chapter 907, it would explain how Saturn knew of Blackbeard's lineage, or bloodline, in chapter 1107. And to add even more evidence on why I think it's Shanks and not Shamrock is we know Shanks had a duel with Blackbeard, so they have a history. And Shanks clearly knows something about Blackbeard that most people don't, or else Shanks wouldn't have tried to warn Whitebeard about him. And Shanks has been trying to track down Blackbeard this whole time, so maybe Shanks told the Gorosei about Blackbeard as a last resort, hoping they might be able to stop him. And really think about it, if the Gorosei knew of Blackbeard's lineage all this time, they would have never let Blackbeard join the Warlords or make any deals with him. They would have tried to kill him as soon as they could to end his bloodline, just like what they did with Ace. And the fact that Blackbeard could be a Buccaneer adds even more to that. Not only would they want to kill him because his father was Rocks, but because he's a Buccaneer. And Saturn tells Kuma, who's another Buccaneer, that Buccaneers only have 2 options in life, to be slaves or die. And a few more potential foreshadows of Rocks' soul being inside Blackbeard's body is almost every important thing Blackbeard has done in the story. Claiming the Darkness Devil Fruit, killing Whitebeard, defeating Ochoku on Pirate Island, and how Blackbeard double-crosses the world government for his gain, just like we've seen Rocks do. Blackbeard was adamant about claiming the Darkness Fruit. Without it, there's a good chance he would have never made any moves or enacted his grand plan for the world. His Devil Fruit is indeed quite powerful and makes almost every Devil Fruit user powerless against him. But I think Blackbeard needing the Darkness Devil Fruit goes further than that. I think Rocks learned that he needed the Darkness Devil Fruit to ultimately win, and I think it's the exact counter he needs to fight against Emu. When Rocks met Emu in the Flower Garden, he knew he couldn't beat him, but one day he'd come back and win. Maybe the Darkness Devil Fruit is the power he needed. So I think Blackbeard absolutely requiring this Devil Fruit power was because Rocks informed him that it was essential. Rocks even states in chapter 1156 that there are 2 Devil Fruits he wants. He says one is most likely on Elbaf that he would need Herald to eat to use its power to the fullest, while this other mysterious Devil Fruit he wants still unknown to us, leaving a good chance for it being the Yami Yami no Mi. And while we're on the topic of Blackbeard and Devil Fruits, let's talk about his unique trait of being able to consume 2 Devil Fruits. No one else in the story can do this, and it's a widely accepted fact in the world of One Piece that if you were to eat a second Devil Fruit, it would mean your immediate death. Like I said before, I believe this is solved because Blackbeard's body housing Rocks' soul means there's an additional soul to store another Devil Fruit power. But let's bring up the Gorosei's remarks about it from chapter 594. They say there is no record of anyone before Blackbeard successfully consuming 2 devil fruits, and now that it's since been confirmed that the Gorosei members are immortal, I believe this line is very important. We don't know exactly how old each Gorosei member is, so some could very well be from the Void Century, and if they're saying this devil fruit feat has not been successful before this, they would know. So what does this mean? I think this means at no point in history has a Buccaneer ever used their special soul powers to merge into another living body. I think Rox is the first Buccaneer to ever do this, and this act could have been forbidden within the Buccaneer clan. I think the Gorosei are very aware of what the Buccaneer's special power is, and it's one reason why they have been hunted to extinction. It's been said that humanity's longest and oldest dream is immortality, and inadvertently, I think the Buccaneers being able to control their souls and merge it with things is a form of immortality that the Gorosei are jealous of and fear. A great example of this is the Iron Giant Emmet. I think Emmet is an ancient Buccaneer. I believe he parallels Kuma because I believe both are souls inhabiting robot cyborg bodies, and since we know that the ancient kingdom was so technologically advanced, this could have been a common thing the Buccaneers did from that era, merging their souls into robot bodies, essentially making them immortals. We even get a confirmation of Emmet being an immortal in his flashback with Joy Boy. Joy Boy tells Emmet that he's going to live much longer than him, and he won't always be around to help. We know about a good number of Rox members at this point in the story, but the 2 I want to focus on are Whitebeard and Ichoku. I think Blackbeard killing Whitebeard and defeating Ichoku are examples of Rox enacting revenge on people that betrayed him. So far in the story, Whitebeard has not been confirmed to have betrayed Rox, but it's heavily implied since the Rox pirates never got along, the crew most likely all abandoned Rox in his battle against the God Knights, Marines, and Roger. I think it's very likely Whitebeard abandoned Rox in his time of need. Rox may have even specifically asked Whitebeard for his help. Whitebeard was one of the strongest and first members of Rox's crew. With Rox's family on the line, I think he took this betrayal very personal and ended up taking his revenge by having Blackbeard kill him. I think the same idea applies to Ichoku, if not more, because Ichoku 100% betrayed the Rox pirates more than once. Ichoku seems to have been working with the world government as early as chapter 1157. Whitebeard remarks that it's too soon for the Navy to be here and wonders if anyone tipped them off. And if you go back a few panels, for some reason Ichoku has a Denden Mushi, which I think he used to call the Navy. Fast forward to chapter 1159, Don Morlone was killed and the Celestials kidnapped Shaki. We get panels of everyone either upset or crying, while Ichoku doesn't seem bothered at all and is counting money that he most likely received for helping the Celestials take Shaki. And then we see him get worried about the Rox pirates finding out where she went so soon, and he nervously doubts the validity of the source that told them. Now, Blackbeard taking revenge for pirates betraying his father could be because of fate or someone told him. While fate is not a bad option, I highly doubt Blackbeard could have learned anything about his father since he was only 2 when Rox died, and since children are a parent's weakness, Rox hid his wife and child away so no one could find them or know about them, so I don't see an outside party informing Blackbeard the history of his father since no one would know Blackbeard is his son. But if Rox's soul is inhabiting Blackbeard and that's how he knows everything, I can see that. Blackbeard even takes Pirate Island as his home base just like his father did. And don't forget the world government deleted Rox from history, so Blackbeard would have no way of learning about him. But Blackbeard is somehow following in his exact footsteps, recruiting insanely strong pirates under his command, making Pirate Island his home base, trying to become king of the world, and taking revenge on the exact people that may have betrayed his father. And lastly, it's been hinted at since chapter 225 that Blackbeard may be multiple people in one body, because Luffy and Zoro say it's not just one guy, there's more than one. To Nami when they meet Blackbeard for the first time, which makes Nami and us the readers undoubtedly confused. For years, fans have chalked it up to Blackbeard having multiple personalities, souls, or they were referencing his other crew members on the island at the time. But I personally believe they were talking about multiple people or souls in one body. And that's all I've got for this video, and as always, I would love to know what you guys think down below in the comments. Like this video and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you later.